Welcome back, one and all, to the EMEA Masters here, summer 2023 group stage. We are coming into game number 2. I'm still just Oshin, but I'm joined by the delightful Dagda. So we're going to be jumping into our second game of the day. Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition versus Team Go. I mean, for the Unicorns, they were at the highest, almost highest of highs within the ERL thing. They got all the way to the finals last time, and they got a little bit smashed in the Prime League finals, but they're still here to try and make a movement, try and make some kind of move to re-establish themselves as one of the top teams.
Yeah, the second highest of highs is kind of what they got to. But I mean, at this stage, they're kind of hoping that they can get to that second highest of highs again in this group, because sitting down at 1 and 2 at the moment, not really having the best of starts coming into this, it has been on UOL to now try and find their way back into, well, it was the finals last split, and now it's just a lot of question marks as to how high they can get, because with Peach leaving this roster and Cad coming in, it feels like they haven't quite been able to find that same success. And even looking at their game so far, a huge amount of it does seem to come down to a case of sometimes going for that over-aggression that has come back to bite them, especially in the early stages. Whereas if they're just able to let the game play out just nice and calm and not go too heavily or go too aggressive in the early stages, they can get to a point where they can set up for Funky and Mask to be those big cards.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, look, they're 1 and 2 right now, but like we said from that earlier match, because Nasser did beat Movistar Riders, they're still only 1 win away. A win against Go today gets them on the right path. They want to make sure they have at least a 1-1 record with everybody else in the group. We could have ourselves a 3-3-3-3-3-3-3-3-3. We'll have to talk about that a little bit later. But I mean, yeah, I know there's a very real possibility the way that goes. But there is obviously a lot more to kind of talk about for this team. And I want to see a bit more, because again, you don't just obviously losing a player does suck. Peach was a fantastic jungler, but it shouldn't lead to this like swift of a decline sometimes. And I think there are some small mistakes they can definitely rub off on to just make it a little bit of a smoother transition. And they're going to have to do that, because against Team Go now on the other side of this one here, Team Go are still an NFL playing kind of a team. They're still a massive rival here between the some of the bigger teams we know and love. So they're looking to stamp their authority and show that the LFL are still the top dogs.
Yeah, and I think for Go, they have definitely looked like the best team here. Obviously, we talked about they had the one game that they ended up dropping against Movistar Riders, but still, I think they have a really good understanding of how they can try and set things up for themselves in the early stages, how to disrupt a lot of what their opposition wants to do. And I've been thoroughly impressed with this jungle support, how they are working together. I think Camilius is really making a name for himself in this EMEA Masters as one of the new names that we should be looking at in that support.
Yeah, I mean, look, this kind of mid-jungle support duo, or trio, I should say, is definitely feeling like an awful lot more of a set-in-stone thing that just feels like it's working right for the side of Go. And they came in play-ins, don't forget. They were kind of, the lower of the seeds, if you will, but they're looking to have a much stronger kind of showing today and really kind of solidify the LFL status within the EMEA Masters.
Yeah, and I've been really, really impressed with how they've been able to, one, get the control over the bottom side with Link has been able to play around that bottom side to get themselves set up. And then also, as we say, for Camilius, his roam timings have been exceptional. His setup in these early stages to try and play around mid lane has been so incredibly strong, and he's been so they've so easily been able to rely on him when it comes to these team fights for these big engages that they've been able to set up. And when you've got someone like Linkus, who's been so good at tracking the enemy jungler and making sure that he's able to be in the right place to shut down a lot of the time what the opposition wants to do or how they want to play, it means that you've got a very potent duo that you have to watch out as you play against this team.
Yeah, and I mean, look, for Linkus as well, is that, kind of one of his biggest strengths, I think, and we saw it there with Talia, is that he has got a pretty decent champion pool. He's got something that you can kind of go for the engages. You can go for the Sejuanis and stuff like that, but he's not reliant on him, and the rest of the team aren't relying on him to be that engaged. So it's really nice to kind of see the two of them kind of working up the five of them, I even should say, working up that kind of synergy to say, look, regardless of what's thrown at us, regardless of what bans come out, we're going to have a game plan, and we should be able to execute on it fairly cleanly.
Yeah, and that's not even talking about guys like Takui as well. They're on this team. He's been absolutely insane. We got to see some of his Azir mechanics coming through. I think when he's on the Azir, a little bit less potent in the lane, but certainly when you come into those team fights, he's an absolute menace. So it definitely feels like, to me, Team Go are the team to beat. And the fact now that you're seeing kind of a lot of 2-2s or 1-2s in the group at the minute, if you can secure this victory here as Team Go, I mean, you're pretty much setting yourself up for that playoff spot.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a massive separation as well if you come in 4 games played and you're already sitting on 3 wins. But this is going to be kind of a big test now for the Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition. It does, as you said, you haven't really seen as much flair out of them as we did in spring EMEA Masters. So they need to step up. They need to make sure that they're not falling behind, because as much as it can be Team Go moving forward, getting themselves closer to that, kind of playoffs berth, it could just as well be a kind of 1 foot in the grave for the side of the Unicorns of Love.
Yeah, and that's where it kind of gets a bit heartbreaking, right? Going with a lot of expectations, I think, just from their performance in the EMEA Masters last split. I mean, obviously, SK Prime were the ones who won the DACH region this split, but it still feels like you're kind of looking at them going, well, come on, it's UOL. Like, they should still be able to perform to such a high degree, but coming in, it has been very, very disappointing. And the fact that we're seeing them, going for this over-aggression, especially trying to play off like invades that CAD is going for, I think this has kind of been the crux of their issues, where they just try and bite off more than they can chew. And then it ends up being a case of, well, we're now coming into this 2K goal behind at the 15-minute mark. Like, how do we try and bounce back when now we're coming into team fight against teams that have these phenomenal AD carries or this great team fighting like Team Go has?
Yep, absolutely. And look, little slight delay getting into Champ Select, so we should be hopefully getting that up very, very shortly for you guys. But, I mean, I'm kind of expecting to see, I think the big thing for me is that when I looked at the Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition, it's not really kind of coming together. Like, I think it was a Volley Bear in there at some point. Again, a champion that it's like, you're not really kind of hitting the meta. And look, don't get me wrong, I'm all for pocket picks. I'm all for having those kind of cool little, moments where you're saying, you know what, this is the perfect opportunity. But it does feel like they're kind of leaning on them a little bit too heavily.
Yeah, I mean, you can kind of put on both sides, right? Like, you get Ragnar, he's brought in things like the Urgot and stuff like that as well. So it definitely has been comfort on both sides coming through. And I can get the idea is like, hey, look, you want to play like hyper aggressive and play around this Volley Bear to even take and press the attack in that matchup to try and go play for those invades. But you've got to get your waves in order and you've got to play off of your priority. And I think it's that like small misstep that you will have in the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to jump into picks and bans straight away and get ourselves right up into this kind of game. Again, very important for both these teams to try and get this win. Again, when you're in such a tight group, every win can mean such a huge difference. But for the moment, it is just going to be the Ivern, the Jace, the Rumble, and the LeBlanc taking off the boards. Again, strong laners and things that can enable strong laners are generally seen as the flavors of the bans.
Yeah, I'm curious to see exactly, though, how UOL round this out, because, I mean, Linkus seems to be one of the few people that we've really seen bring out the Tilly already, and she's been incredibly strong getting that buff onto 13-15, so curious if they end up falling back towards that here, or if UOL decide to ban it away. So it is going to be the Rel ban, so I think it's pretty obvious that if you're not going to pick that up as CAD, which to me, it doesn't really seem like CAD has it in his wheelhouse, he's been more, as you say, like Volley Bear, Sejuani, Trundle. I think that this is kind of where you can see Go going, great, we're going to get our hands on one of these big power picks, and maybe you go towards Kai'Sa or something here for funking that bot lane, but it still just seems like you're snookered a little bit with just having that extra pick. But could be wrong, though. Looks like CAD's going to take it.
Yeah, they're going to get the Talia. Can technically go towards the mid as well, so we might see that one there. I've also seen some whisperings of the Avengers bot lane coming back on Korean solo queue down in the Talia Pantheon bot lane. Hopefully the Griffin boys do not look at it in any way, shape, or form. But Ragnar gets himself the Renekton. I mean, honestly, this is a champion that Ragnar can take over with. We know how good a Renekton can be in those early phases and in those mid-game fights.
Yeah, and we've even seen Ragnar, I'm pretty sure, was the one who brought out the, am I right with the Kled as the counter? Yeah, so he definitely is well aware of it. And I'm curious if Fenrir wants to try and bring that out, because I think Renekton will struggle against the Talia in a lot of these fights. And Maokai will also struggle just with the clear speed that this Talia has. So although Go are kind of playing for a lot of these are the big power picks, there are still answers that UOL can go for here, and I wouldn't be fully surprised if we end up seeing some of them come out. We'll have to see if Fenrir is willing to play the Cloud into that top side, but even if you just go for something like the Nico here as well, I think you end up in a really good spot where you've got Go who are trying to play into you, but you've got a ton of answers for someone who's trying to play that close. Yeah,
see what they go for now. Get CAD onto that Sejuani, as you mentioned earlier, something he's very, very comfortable with, but does mean that Talia goes into the mid lane. They're going full top side right now. They're saying, look, we just need to make sure our top half of the map is solid. We got the Talia. We've basically gotten rid of the flex, so we now have given up the ghost on that one. Let's just get the Cassante. Let's just get something to go for it. And actually, it was an interesting one. We were actually talking in an interview yesterday, and the player we were talking to, but do apologize, the name of him escapes my mind, but he said Cassante's kind of the champion that, yes, there are very clear counters to him, but if you just play as he, with his tools, you can just win any matchup. That's just how much of a kind of a champion, how many skills you can work with him. So curious to see what Venor can do with that kind of setup now.
Yeah, I was looking at the third pick here for Team Go. I actually thought they'd end up taking something like the Xayah or the Kai'Sa here in this next rotation. I think there's a world where there's a lot of answers to Taliyah in the mid lane. Like, you can still go the Azir, you can still go for something like they have the Syndra there. I don't think you can be banned out in picks against it. And I think taking your AD carry could have set up Jezu really well. This says to me that maybe they're looking to see if they give over the Kai'Sa. If you end up falling back into Jezu, like play the Vayne already into it as an answer, and it kind of looks like they're almost trying to base a Kai'Sa pick out of UOL with the setup that they have at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, look, the Kai'Sa. Yeah, I was gonna say the Kai'Sa definitely feels like they're kind of leaning towards it right now. But as I say, the Vayne ban coming in, kind of sit you in the corner and saying, "Look, we see what you're trying, but we're not going to get baited into it as easily as you might think." But for the moment, kind of seeing where Team Go want to go with this draft. Honestly, they could probably throw another support ban in here, just make sure they get that first kind of setup. Yeah, I do like the Braum here as well. You've got a lot of kind of front-facing, forward-moving champions here in the slide, in the likes of the Syndra and the Renekton, of course. You want to try and make sure they can get their abilities off.
Yeah, I'm also curious then if it says that they're going to go for the Nautilus in this next rotation. Like, Braum does very well into it. Rakan doesn't always do so well into the Nautilus, but at least it sets up pretty well for you. Or maybe even an Alistair is going to be the combo here, but I think the Nautilus just works a little bit better against something like the Taliyah, because that Unraveled Earth can do so much work pretty much against everything Go have to offer here. So I wouldn't be fully surprised. Yeah, there's the Nautilus. And then on the opposite side, I think Xayah works. I think you just take the Xayah and you kind of snook or Team Go for the bot side of the map. Like, Leona does come out, counter to the Nautilus is all fine, but you've got a ton of self-peel for yourself with the Xayah. You've got great team fighting, do well into the Kai'Sa, and even with there's not really a big threat for you on that backline, even with the way things are set up at the moment.
Yeah, not really. We're going to see them now taking their time for the moment with this particular pick. The Leona, as I said, we like it. And I mean, honestly, I feel like it is such a kind of a good comp to kind of deal with a lot of the forward momentum from Go right now. You've got the Unraveled Earth coming out here from the Taliyah. You have got the just kind of general presence of the Cassante to be able to keep you at arm's length. The Leona kind of punishing anyone who goes a little bit too far forward and to be able to separate everyone out with that long-range solar flare. So let's see what Funky wants to try and maybe go for. Here goes for the Zeri this time around. So not getting the same kind of level of kind of early game kind of setup with his Leona, but still a hyper carry nonetheless.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to see it though. I still think that the Zion stuff could have worked out really well here. Just especially when you're trying to play such a short range AD carry against the Nautilus who has point and click CC, against the long range CC that can come through from Syndra. I think Funky's gonna have his work cut out from here. He has opted for the Ghost. I wouldn't be fully surprised to see that maybe change over towards a cleanse, but you're now going up against a hyper aggressive bot lane in Jezu and Camilleus with this Tristana locked in. So I mean, Team Go, it's going to be Go bot lane in this one, because they want to make sure that they can murder this area every opportunity they get with this Tristana.
Absolutely. I mean, look at the amount of people that can just jump on her face in an instant. You get hit by a scatter of the week, you're going to have everybody on Go just constantly mauling at you. So you're going to have a massive target on your back here from the side of Funky. I will say though, Funky and the rest of his team have built himself a very nice kind of front to back team fight. You go forward with the Leona, you've got the Sejuani and the Cassante to kind of help out with that, and then you're looking to try and do DPS from a safe distance here with the Zeri and the Taliyah. So very standard, I would say, from both these sides in terms of what we would expect them to bring out for this game.
Yeah, I really like the Taliyah pick just at the moment, because as you look at a lot of what Team Go brought to the table are fairly obvious picks in the current meta. Taliyah works super well against them. The Renekton, the Maokai, and even the Nautilus to a certain extent as well, because he does pull himself forward. So the value you can get from your Unraveled Earth is absolutely monstrous. It is just going to be a case of like Mask trying to keep himself safe in this Taliyah in the mid lane. I wouldn't be surprised to see Link is trying to make some plays happen with Takui around the mid lane, like blow an early summoner spell, give Takui a lot of control of that lane, and then you can start to lean that into, well, dragon pressure, especially with the Tristan and the Nautilus having control over the bottom lane.
They're expecting an invade off this one here. There's no reason else to kind of put down 5 members on this bot side, but it wasn't to be. Camilleus is going to go in a little bit later than usual, drop down a ward if he so feels like it. Doesn't even actually feel like it this time. Just going to walk away and say, look, I've done my job. I've covered the lane. And now I'll drop a ward.
It was all a ruse. I still get the ward. But again, I think this is just a good call. A lot of what we're going to be trying to do is like desync Linkus and CAD to make sure that they're actually able to. Well, actually, sorry. There are two options they can go for. Like Linkus can desync if he wants to try and then play for some of the like towards the lanes and trying to make sure that he can like play around bot side when the Sejuani isn't there. But there is also an argument here as well to just go like, hey, I'm actually going to play off of bot lane pressure for an event.
Oh, it's a hell of a lot of damage there, especially with the Glacial Augment. Not really able to trade it back there. Jezu looking to try and maybe get it going in. So a nice little trade here. The Leona very, very powerful in those first level skirmishes, especially at level 2. Of course, we all know if you play any kind of League of Legends, the level 2s and a blade into the Shield of Daybreak can be disgustingly powerful if you are able to get it nice and early. But for the moment,
the big change in this bot lane matchup though is the fact that like Nautilus is opting for the Aftershock. So we did see a nerf to Glacial Augment, so some people have started to trend back over into the Aftershock and some of these tankier supports. But specifically for this matchup, the way Nautilus plays this is Q gives you the Glacial Augment whenever Leona tries to go for the Zenith Blade. And that Glacial Augment means that you've got enough space to then walk backwards, right? Or even if you just don't have any Glacial Augment, if both of you are running Aftershock, you can get the hook and disengage. The problem that you now have is that because the Leona has opted in towards the Glacial Augment and you haven't, you've actually got the Zenith Blade with proc Glacial Augment, which will actually now give Leona enough time to catch up for the auto attack of the Q. So this is going to be a bit of a back and forth lane now where UOL will have a little bit of kill pressure into Camilius, especially if CAD's here, simply because of the difference in the two summoner spells. Or sorry, not summoner spells, and the rune choices.
Yeah, we just see odd interaction with the wolf there, went off vision and it just kind of stopped, didn't know what to do, bless him. But yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Nice little knockback here from Mask onto Takui, but Scout of the Week does mean that he's pretty damn safe in that one. But we'll keep our eyes on that bot side as it does progress throughout the game. For the moment though, both junglers are just happy with their full clears. We can see now Benner trying to deal with this wave right now, and honestly, Ragnar having full information of where the Sejuani, he got that blue buff start and said, look, I know where you're going, I know what you're going to try to do. I'm happy enough to try and cover this, and honestly, there's no one to stop him. He's going to get a full kind of proxy going. Yeah,
manages to completely clear out the wave, and now, I mean, does he? Oh, sorry, I wasn't sure if at the spot, or the Gromp was still up on that top side, but it looks like he's just going to back away, get himself control over this mid lane, or the river, and make sure he's all right.
Well, Aftershocks burned by both junglers as they find themselves in the jungle. CAD trying to be a little bit more aggressive. I like the fact that you can see there that with the priority Ragnar had built up for himself, he's able to kind of set up a scuttle for his own jungle setup. That's nice to see, but does mean he does give up a little bit of priority in this top side, so we might see a little bit of engage. This is the Glacial Augment you were saying, gives him time to catch up. Doesn't want to commit too much though underneath that tower. It's a very dangerous time to be if you want to try and catch out this Tristana.
Yeah, especially if you're you're taking that much damage from those bombs as well. Tristana's a ton of damage in the early stages, so we'll have to see exactly now how Jezu wants to try and push. Should be able to push this without. Make sure that he gets a reset to match what the Zeri's having as well. And on the top side, Ragnar is just continuing to be an absolute nuisance in the top end.
Yeah, look, this is how the Cassante-Renekton matchup goes. If the Cassante can survive it, I will tell you now, I've seen far too many Cassantes getting solo kills for that to be considered a counter matchup, but we'll see. Yeah, it's a little upsetting, to be honest with you. He's very front-loaded with his abilities, but for the moment, still doing well, still keeping everything kind of easy breezy for the side of Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition, and everyone's just happy with the laning state right now. No one's going too aggressive for anything at the moment.
Nah, and I'm kind of surprised to see this. I did think we'd have CAD and Linkus trying to get into the lanes to affect them. As we kind of like already were alluding to, like Jezu and Camilius, very aggressive bot lane that you do want to try and snowball, because I think people think of Tristana as this like hyper late game carry, but she's definitely someone that tends to do better when she can snowball, because she's very auto attack based and she wants to try and get access to that range as well. So if you can try and get her snowballing, well then she has that single damage burst, she can get the resets and fights. It all becomes significantly easier for her to play. But if she does actually fall behind, she just isn't able to put out that auto attack based damage as quickly as you'd like, or even be able to rely on her bombs as easy as you'd like to follow up. So I think for Linkus, you need to try and get Jezu ahead in this matchup.
We've seen level 6s by the AD carries, or excuse me, not the AD carries, the mid laners. Now already we're starting to fight over this dragon as a Hex Dragon for the first of the two we might see before we get ourselves a soul. And everyone's just being a little bit skittish right now. No one wants to overcommit. They know there's plenty of playmaking ability between all of their CCs. The AD carries don't care about that right now. They're happy with playing PvE for the moment, at least in a PvE 1v1.
Yeah, at the moment though, UOL still have control over this bottom side, and I mean, Cad just playing off the fact that he has priority push in mid and boss to get that into the face of Linkus and make sure he's not able to do anything on this bottom side. And it's just buying space, as you can see, for Funky. I mean, a 10 CS lead for himself at the moment. Like, it'll be answered a little bit by Jesu, but still a wave advantage.
Well, now he wanted them in the lanes, but now they're in each other's faces in the jungle. You do have the Weaver's Wall for Matt, so he can join this. This could be a 4v3. Here we go. They're going to jump in, try and get the flash down. They're not underneath the tower just yet. Flash is being burnt. The Talia's Weaver's Wall gets taken as well. No one goes down, but a couple of summoners taken away here from the side of the LFL Team Go.
I mean, if I'm Gromp there, I'm just flattered. The amount that they use to just pick up little old me, but like realistically, yeah, like UOL invested a lot to try and pick up some sort of kills on the bottom side of the map, but just not really a case. The fact that you had already backed away is Jesuit Camilius, and yes, Linkus will lose a little bit of his jungle, but it's not the end of the world. Weaver's Wall being down for Mask just opens up a lot more plays on side lanes that Go would be kind of scared to go for because you've got to worry about that Talia joining.
I mean, it's a slow start, Dagda. It is a tentative look at how these teams want to try and play this game, because I think it kind of adds to the volume of how they know this, how important this game is for both these sides. Again, if Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition, they win this, they bring the entire group after the first game after this first game of the second round robin to 2-2 for everybody. That means it is wide open. It might as well be just 2 best of ones then after that to see who's able to kind of win. So it's an important matchup, but I think both teams are giving that respect to each other.
Yeah, there's also, like, as the NFL representative, a huge amount of pressure for you to make it out of groups. Like, you already have one of the LFL teams out of groups, and you've got Esports as well, who are 3-0. So, like, there is definitely a huge amount of pressure, or 3-0 at least coming into today, but, like, there's a huge amount of pressure here for Team Go to be like, no, we're making out of groups, we're going to be good. So, trying to pick up a win here would make that significantly easier. As we're saying, like, 3-1 then for Team Go. You just have Movistar Riders and Nasser Esports who are 2-2. You put UOL down at 1-3, so it would make things significantly easier for Team Go. But on the opposite side, for UOL Sexy Edition, the fact that they are sitting at 1-2, they need to pick up every single win they have. And for CAD, that could maybe start with taking a pick on Takui here.
Yeah, they know that the Baron has been taken. Oh, excuse me, not the Baron, the Rift Tower, but they will get the flash out to Takui. He has nowhere we need to kind of go after this. We'll get flicked back and will be confirmed for the first blood. Finally, a little bit of action. You can see as soon as Linkus realized his mid laner was in trouble, he tried his best, but without a flash to get in position, he's just got nothing left in the tank.
Ah, mad lad CAD, what a play. Predicts the flash on Takui to pick that one up and then set it up. You'll see it here. Like, as he starts to come around here, you immediately are like, okay, Takui, you're in trouble. You get the flash out, it'll be fine. But predicts the flash over the wall onto Takui and beautifully sets that up. Even the slows then from Mass to get into range. Linkus is here, even blows that ultimate from the Maokai, but not able to save his counterpart. Big pickup for UOL.
Really, really nicely done. And honestly, it was a go sign. As soon as he saw the global call of the Rift Herald being taken, he was like, grand, this is a 2v1 at best for the side of Go. So really, really well done. Really well kind of utilized here by the side of CAD on the Unicorns of Love. But now they're going to turn that into a slightly later trade on the Dragon. But a Dragon for a Rift Herald is a guarantee to take every single day of the week.
And this is where you're kind of going for Team Go. You had the options to try and make plays happen, right? We talked about Linkus and Takui. You've got that CC in towards Mask, but because they haven't been able to get control... Oh, actually, hang on. Jesu.
Should be fine, Funky. Just all right, go on.
But I was going to say, because you haven't really been able to get much control over this bottom side in the way that you were hoping as well, like, Linkus has been forced back out of his jungle, but UOL playing really well off of Funky and... Leona. I'm not going to attempt it. I'm sorry, lads. But moving into this bottom side and then going to invade into the jungle. And then as well, it means that you just end up falling further and further behind. Like Linkus, you can see not quite being able to get onto the map immediately off of the Dragon. CAD's moving into the jungle, just re-establish the vision control there. So it's just making it very hard for Team Go to operate in these early stages. And as long as UOL can kind of keep this steady and lean into those team fights we're talking about, I think they're in a fantastic spot. It is just a case of like Team Go have looked like this superior team fighting team in this group. Now UOL have to try and show that they can take them on.
Yeah, you can see, look how safe or scared, whichever one you prefer, you want to say that Kui has to play now. He is sitting in that mid lane kind of so far back by his turret because he knows without a flash and a flash available for the Leona and the Sejuani, he has a sitting duck if he ever gets caught out. There's so much single target CC, he would just be dead to rights. There'd be an easy setup there for the Taliyah to kind of flick back as well. So we'll see how it ends up kind of working out. Now you can see Team Go finally moving everybody around this mid lane to try and make sure that their mid laner can at least go for something. But again, another great ult. This is exactly what I just talked about. But can they turn it around? That is the question. Kui finally has his AD carry coming in with the resets. They trade it back 1-for-1 at support for a mid laner. Cad needs to try and get away from this one here, but a flash with the twisted advance. You can see Cad doing his best. They have separated Jezu away, but he's right between a rock and a hard place, or a tree and a wall. And that's going to be a 2-for-1 trade in favor of Go.
A Go still though starting to move down towards the spot lane. I think Funky should be able to get away from this. No ultimate on Camilius, but yeah, has the flash, has the cleanse, will be able to hop over the wall. But nicely done there by Go to try and find that answer for the play in the mid lane. It did mean that they had to drag both the Tristan and the Nautilus up, but Cad gets it to Kui, no flash, immediately ends up falling. But the fact you have Jezu here then to at least turn this kill back around, because Kui takes so long to fall, means that Go get one back. The problem is it is 2-for-1, but you're still looking at that bot lane for Zeri as well, who's got, I'm pretty sure she got 2 plates off that, may only be the 1, and the wave crashed as well. So it's still, yeah, it still will be answered now back for Jezu, gets some kills. So 2 kills now to the Tristana and answering that plate. At least Go are coming out definitely on top of that plate.
Yeah, and Ragnar, we haven't looked at top for a while. This is the Thornmail start for Vinar. And not surprising, to be perfectly honest. This is something that we had in the LPL quite a bit with the K'Sante-Renekton matchup. It is just so basically you survive the lane, and honestly, Thornmail is just always a good time for the K'Sante, not really kind of losing out, especially with the way his ultimate works and the transition of power. But speaking of transition of power, we are going to see Cad finding Camilius, and they're going to try and trade back some of these plates. Good hook there. But now they want to try and fully engage Solar Flare as well. If you're not really committing, that feels like a bit of an overzealous attempt at an ultimate.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they thought Kui was missing from the mid lane and may have been making his way down. They didn't have the... Although, to be fair, there is a ward there, so they probably should have spotted it. Yeah. I mean, just seemed like a panic button from the Leona, where she was like, look, I don't want anything to do with this. But Cad, now maybe trying to rinse and repeat. Knows there's a ward there, though, so I think they should just back away from this one.
Yeah, they know there's something there. Camilius even walking over here to make sure he can catch up anybody who's trying to make a sneaky move. And it did feel like it was just kind of maybe a little bit of a weird timing there, because Cad was waiting for his ultimate to come back up. He had about 30 seconds when that fight happened in the bot lane. Then he kind of thought about it again when it came back up. Just unfortunate timings. It happens to the best of us right now. As we see the turret plates finally going down, fairly even on that regard, regardless of who you look at. And kind of finally look around the map. Despite there being a 20 CS lead in this bot side, you can see Funky, he's playing a bit of PvE, but will be able to confirm this tower, get himself up and his team onto that tower map.
Yeah, and now be able to back away as well, spend that gold. The Rift Herald number 2 going to be spawning in just 30 seconds, so certainly if I'm looking at UOL, they'd love to be able to get their hands on that, especially to go back with the BF sword and the static ship being picked up now for Funky, but it's going to be so difficult to try and play. I think you need to look for some sort of pick with mask, but already you can see Go are kind of aware of that. They move into the mid lane, they get the push in, and will allow the reset for Kui to come through.
Well, 22 seconds as well. Both top laners have their TPs available. Everyone's getting themselves their first items, apart from the supports. No love for the supports. Actually, Sejuani went with a weird build. Kind of went with a load of HP. Without actually completing anything off the bat just yet. Cad sitting here in the mid lane, making sure there's no funny business going on to Funky as he tries to push that one in. But how do you want to see either of these teams approach this fight? Because it looks like we're gearing up for a 5v5. Yeah,
I think that's going to be the big one. Go obviously turning over towards this dragon. They already have vision.
Yeah, they're looking for it. They're going to try and get the flick back as well. Cad almost gets taken out. They pop down the ultimate here, but look at Ragnar over the side, just keeping everybody at bay. There was no support for Cad, and now without a jungler, can you really go for this fight? Ragnar should be able to kind of heal up a fair bit if he gets that Empower Q.
Yeah, just needs to try and play it back at the moment. Unstoppable for Venner, keeps himself safe. Dragon?
No!
Stolen!
He had no time! He didn't have a smite. I was like, why is he not smiting this? Why is he not smiting this? That's why you didn't have it. I don't know why you flipped that and go. You got the kill, you got the separation, and then you just throw it all away.
I think they were worried about trying to go for the all-in because Ragnar was so low. And even just Venor here, great unstoppable to prevent Camilius from really setting up the engage. But it means that then they don't really have the go tools anymore. Like the Maokai ultimate's down. Maokai doesn't really have a flash to try and cover that distance either. So it's just a case of being able to play at range, and they take it too low. So it ends up having to be finished off.
Oh, that's just so unfortunate. You got the kill, you did everything right, and then right at the end, Mask, though, might be losing his flash as he looks to try and go for this one here. But now that you've used the Twisted Advance, I was going to say, you actually don't have that much kill threat onto me, as Mask just kind of pushes forward onto that one there. You finally have the Leona jumping in as well, but I mean, look, Rift Herald and Dragon going over. This game is still so even. It's basically that kill between the two teams, but the objectives are consistently going over to the Unicorns.
Yeah, I think the fact that now you've got that Rift Herald for UOL means that you can even try and break down this mid lane turret, especially since you've just forced Team Go out of this bot side, or onto this bot side. Yeah, you can see Cad, you've already got Funky there. I think he just grabbed mid lane turret off of that play.
Yeah, I mean, Linkus is just not going to be able to come back into this. He has to reset and get himself a bit of HP, as he even buys himself a little bit more HP. But I mean, that's a free mid tier 1, and we always talk about how important the tier 1 is because it just opens up the rest of the map, and on an ocean rift as well, to say the least. That's going to be a lot of dark vision now for the side of the LFL to try and really kind of move their way around and make sure they're not getting caught.
Yeah, I think in the next minute and a half to 2 minutes, you want to see Funky move, or even to Mask, as well, move up towards this top side and just have the pressure where you can push in mid and then lean with Cad and the Leona up towards this top side to try and look for that tier 1 and just get the last bit of remaining standing goal that is there. Ideally, you'd love to try and finish off the Navori quick blades onto Funky before this next dragon comes up, which is why I would lean into Funky being the one that tries to get the local goal from the turret, but either or will be absolutely perfect. I think leaving Venor up here though is a bit of a mistake, because at least at the moment you're not losing more, but I think UOL are actually in a position with this mid lane tower down to actually gain more on the map if they're able to play off of the mid lane turret being down.
And you can see it right here, how much more aggressive they're feeling, how much more confident they're feeling, just kind of moving forward, saying, look, we can now contest for things like this blue buff. We can now look to be more aggressive, and it takes multiple members of Team Go to be in position to cover for this, because they can't just walk blind. If they walk into Mask, who sitting here with the Blighted Crystal and, of course, the Leandri's Anguish, they are going to be shredded.
Yeah, and again, at least Go are slowly but surely starting to get that vision back, right? They're trying to clear out, but you can see the amount of wards that are in this bottom blue side at the moment is making it very difficult for Go to actually clear out everything. And because of that, they have brought Ragnar down to this bot side because they were afraid of some big play coming down onto Takui. So at least Venor got some alone time, won't be able to take the tower, but now with, the dragon coming up in a minute 45, I think UOL have missed their window of opportunity to fully play for that top end of the map. So instead, we'll more than likely see both Ragnar and Venor facing off in that top lane, giving a little bit more wiggle room to Ragnar to play for bot side and for dragons. And UOL are actually going to lose out on the turrets now because of the way they've set up the map.
Yeah, you see Mass trying to cover this one here. Should be able to do so. There's going to be ultimate coming out, but there's no minion wave. So Camilius just kind of loses his ult for basically nothing. There was a rest of unicorns coming in. And look, there's no objective coming up in the next while. Yes, Baron technically, but no one's going to be... Well, maybe they could go for 20 minutes, but don't expect them to. So no foul, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, I mean, the problem though is really that Takui will get to crash this wave on bot side again, can reset TP up for the next dragon fight. You look towards Ragnar, he's just pushed out top wave as well, so that has to be matched by Mask. So you're seeing on both sides of the map, Go are just playing the map better at the moment, and even getting that push in mid means that UOL aren't really in a position to fully fight for the priority that they need on side lanes right now, or in the mid lane either. Like, Funky now at least has Navori quick blades, so in a fight he's great, but you can see how many members of Go can now commit to the mid priority fight, and that actually is why Cad needs to back the hell away from here. This is actually a really dangerous spot.
Yeah, it is. He's feeling confident, but I don't think he should be feeling that confident. They are going to have Talia pushing in that top side. They would love to give a little bit more gold into the back pocket of this Cassante so we can go back and get that Iceborne Gauntlet. Is pushing down the bot lane. Extra 50 gold from there. He might not be too far away from actually finishing off that Mythic, and that could be a huge spike for him.
I mean, I think you're kind of running out of time to fully complete these Mythics. It's kind of, well, pun intended, go time at the moment with Dragon about to come up and available.
Team Go.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. But you need to actually you need to be in a position where you can try and contest it. So you can, if you look at the minimap, you can see Go put up a deliberate line of, hey, we want to try and play for Dragon. Got deep wards there in behind the pit. That sets up beautifully for like a Ragnar TP or even Takui to look for some sort of flank. But at the moment, UOL, they know Dragon's up, but they don't want to commit to it.
Yeah, they don't want to commit to it. Cad's trying to run away from this one here. They will commit the ultimate as well. They're really going for this one right now. He has, honestly, so much HP without having Jezu kind of constantly putting on DPS. It wasn't really going to work out there. So yeah, you gain a flash out of Cad, but you didn't really lose a hell of a lot out. Double scat of the week, that was pretty massive. Funky had to be very, very aggressive, posturing forward there to make sure that Ragnar did not fully commit.
At the moment, Go are just kind of poking and prodding, seeing how much they can get out, but they got Mask.
They got Mask, but there's a solar flare on the 2, and they're looking to try and make this fight work. They're going to get the knockback as well. Ragnar's dead, and there's just not a lot else in the tank here for Go. Takui never really got to plant his feet, neither did Jezu. Yes, you've got damage, but if your carries are constantly moving backwards, it's just never going to be able to stick.
And the front line couldn't really do too much because, again, you end up with this unraveled earth immediately down in front of you. The flip back comes through, and you're caught in such a weird choke as Go that they can't really get themselves in a position. And now UOL get to turn over towards this Dragon. They've already immediately got Mask pushing in the spot side as well. UOL, I mean, we could have even more turmoil in this group right now.
I can see our producer with his head in his hands already, looking at a potential 2-2 across 4 members. But I mean, like you said, it was Go looking for this fight.
Yeah, and there's not really any more room for them to go. Camilius goes in, has already burnt his stopwatch. The Maokai ultimate's there. So in terms of big team fight tools for CC, most of them are out of the equation. Whereas you're fighting across Mask's Unraveled Earth, so Ragnar can't really go forward.
Oh, that was a good little buffer there from Jezu. He needed to get that. If he gets dragged back one more and then gets all outed, he is just dead, regardless of his flash cleanse or his jump. So really, really clutch there. But I mean, look, 2 items for pretty much everybody coming in now. As we wait to see where this next game goes. 3 dragons and a 2,000, well, only 1,500 goldie, to be perfectly honest, here for Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition. And this game has just been quietly bubbling up. 23 minutes with only 6 kills, and it does feel like it's becoming an execution. Speaking of execution, Camilius, no flash, but not willing to fully commit to it just yet. Ragnar was on a flank and they didn't have Mask.
Yeah, again, it's just UOL trying to buy space for Mask on these side lanes, right? They're just trying to see what they can get out of it. They know Ragnar is off in a side lane, so he's not really going to be in a position unless he TPs in. So it's just poke, prod, see what you can get out. And now they get control over the top side. Someone in Go has to go and deal with that push. And it means that then the rest of UOL can stay in this mid lane. Ragnar, alone on the bot side though, will get a tower for themselves. And I think this is coming back to again where this should be UOL in a much more commanding position, but Go have actually been able to do really good job of like keeping their side waves in check and like having Ragnar in the correct positions, because at the moment both Ragnar and Takui have their TPs up and available, whereas Venner had to use his a little while ago. So you've now got Go commanding position on the map just off of the way the waves are set.
Yeah, it does feel like when it comes to the macro plays around the map, Go do feel a little bit more comfortable with kind of getting the waves in a better position, and it does feel like Unicorns are kind of executing better on the micro. They're having a little bit of a stronger time of just getting these fights in their favor. There will potentially be another fight in 3 minutes time when that Dragon Soul comes up, but for now, both teams having themselves a fairly decent time, and I don't think anyone's going to be upset with the current state of the game. 2 items on most of your carries, a stopwatch picked up for Mask here. That could be massive as well. And honestly, for the side of Unicorns, they're going to be thinking like this is a very winnable position for them. It's honestly a 100% kind of, you know, them in the advantage, if it, even only just slightly.
I will say, that's the thing. It is very, very slight. Like, if you actually do a rundown of the items, it's 2.5 both 80 carries, 2 and a bit for essentially both the mid laners. Like, damages are there. A UOL, they get the TPs, they back away.
Yeah, that's all they wanted. They just wanted the teleport there from Ragnar. As you said earlier, though, Takui did have his as well, so he might be the one who has to go off into the side lane to deal with this Cassante. You now have a TP advantage here for Unicorns. What do you do with it? That's the question.
Well, Go are going to start up the Baron to try and get that TP advantage out of Venor. You can already see they're moving into position. They've managed to push UOL back, and it is a case of, do we get the TP or can Camilius engage?
There we go. They're going to get the TP, but they're going to look for a fight off the back of it anyway. Mass trying to separate them off, and he's kind of just separated his team. They will get Cad. Linekus just taking a bit of damage here. They're getting chased back a little bit. They need to be very careful. These W's are good. Funky tries to make something work. They get the flash in. Chameleus going to get knocked back as well. And they're going to be able to take him down as well. It's a 1-for-1. As Unicorn's not willing to be given a nice scatter of the week, but you can see these health bars from both sides starting to get very low. That's a very weirdly aggressive TP from Mask. I don't think he's going to be able to get much from it. At the end of it all, it's a 1-for-1. Nobody really going to be able to go for this Baron, because I don't think you can really take it as the aggressing team without your jungler.
Yeah, I think Mask went a little bit too Jim Carrey on that play. May not have fully wanted to commit to the top side, but it still works out fairly UOL. Well, I'm going to say more even, to be honest, because as you say, you use the TP to get in, Cat goes down, you get the kill back onto Chameleus, but in the grand scheme of things, like, Go are going to be relatively happy that they just got the TP from Venor. Like, this could have gone so much worse for Go if they hadn't been able to get the flash there from Jezu, who just managed to get away from Venor, flick back onto Chameleus as well. And this scatter of the week as well is crucial from Takui, because the zap manages to hit over the wall, which was more slow, more chase potential. And then Mask, does the thing.
Look, Sherlock. You can't ask a genius what the inner workings of his mind is doing, all right? You just have to watch him at work.
No, you can't. They're called research papers. They're there.
You know what? I had this talk about Nightmare yesterday. It's 2023, and I believe in some misinformation sometimes. But anyway, it fits my narrative. Yeah. But
research papers. You're approved. You know?
Fantastic, fantastic. You have your research papers. I have mine, and I'll never show you them. But speaking of winning research, we're going to see a lot of engage coming in on top of the mid lane. They're trying to see if they can get on top of Lightning Crash. Look at the tankiness coming out there. Venor just keeping everyone from getting on top of these carries, but taking a fair bit of damage himself. The tanks did their job. Literally, look at the health bars of this Maokai and Nautilus, and of course the Leona and the Cassante. But now they're going to look for this Ocean Soul. Ocean Soul for something like a Cassante is disgusting.
Well, they have to see if they can try and get it here. Ragnar playing very aggressive. Big stun from Takui, but that only buys space. Cad wants to go forward. Just want to flash in with that Winter's Wrath and try and get something for himself. So UOL will back in towards the darkness that they've already set up around this dragon.
Chameleon's got a reset, though. We'll say the reset that's coming in here for the side of Unicorns is just going to be those honey fruits that are kind of scattered around the map. Thank you so much to the Ocean Soul. They get this soul, though, because there's no one really knowing. Now they know it's going down. They're going to try and burn it down as quick as they possibly can. They're separated out. There's going to be a jump coming in. Here we go. 50-50. Finally gets taken down, and now the fight can really come in. Takui looking for a scatter of the week, but Funky is kind of keeping himself at a lovely safe distance. They baited them in. They said, you have to go for this fight, and now you're going to lose everybody else from a 3 kills. Going over to the Unicorns, a Love Sexy Edition. They may be make it into a 4th because they know they've got the run of this fight.
What the hell is happening in Group D? UOL come out against Team Go, where everyone was like, oh yeah, you know, now with the 2-2, they're all going to be great, but Takui wants to try and step up for his team. Can he try and find Venor here?
He's trying to find something just before this Baron was taken, because again, yes, you have a TP on Takui, but he's not the one who needed to go back. He's the one who needed to stay there and get everything. And speaking of getting everything, you've got the Ocean Soul, you've got yourself a Baron. This is Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition, just slowly and methodically getting everything they need.
And I mean, a huge amount of this is just a case of Funky and Venor being able to start up this dragon before Go realize that it's already been started. And then Cad, I mean, you get the wall that separates them. Cad is able to get the smite. But even watching then as Mask comes into this, you got Funky who's dealing a ton of damage, and Mask then separates out again Go with this Unraveled Earth as the rest of Go are trying to get it and flee away. So you manage to get a really nice setup where Funky the entire time is free hitting with that Rune's Hurricane, getting a ton of damage off, and there's no one to really respond on the side of Go.
No, and the thing is as well is that I really do want to highlight the Weaver's Wall that Mass put in, because not only did it force the Tristana Jezu to try and jump over, but by the way, he didn't have a flash, so he had to fully commit onto that, which meant that as soon as he was over that wall, he was done, one and done. But also, it meant that they had no escape, because he could come back down that ramp and cover them off as they try to walk back towards the mid lane. So really good positioning coming out here from Mask. And honestly, 0-0 on 6 doesn't really kind of state how well he's doing. He's 70 CS up, man. He's huge.
Yeah, he's an absolute powerhouse right now. There's so little wiggle room for Go now at this stage that I think UOL, as long as they don't completely throw by like over-committing for a pick or, you know, separating out or messing up the way their waves are coming through, they should be able to close this one out. At the moment, you've got mid and bot hitting at the same time. Top is not far behind, so mid tower will fall. Looks like UOL then going to start to threaten onto Takui, who is a little bit far out. I mean, this top tier 2 isn't that strong, and you know that you can already see Ragnar in that bottom side.
Oh, they're looking for him right now. Weaver's Wall was a little ambitious to say the least, but that's a level 17 Talia. 2 levels ahead of Takui. bot side, we can see that the minions are doing the work of everything they need right now. And this is the thing, that Cassante can go 100% in that 1v1. In fact, Jesu's gonna have to try and come out with it. He has recognized that he's coming. But honestly, I've seen enough Cassante games, I've seen enough Cassante setups. I don't doubt that he could take this 2v1.
Yeah, I mean, 3 items at this stage are going to be fairly strong, especially when it's all AD damage that's going to be coming your way, but he doesn't have to take it. UOL already are taking the other side of the map. So Cad at the moment playing at the front line, Camilius with Takui not going to be able to clear out these super creep or these bard
They
up
sent
creeps.
3 members there.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing here. Go. They invested everything to try and get Venner on the bot side, and it came back to bite them.
Yeah, they invested so much, and now you're scrambling to try and cover the rest, and you're still going to have Venner on the bot side just pushing in that tower. Top lane tier 2, or tier 3, I should say, goes down there. Linkus dropping down the ultimate, but it's too late. Your tower's gone. They're able to soak up this one, no problem whatsoever. This just little by little, bit by bit, go. They're floundering again. We talked about this. They're just not really feeling confident to kind of go for anything.
But they don't have any go buttons at this stage. It's just Camilius with that ultimate, but it's like, where the hell do you try and defend? You're in tatters across the entire board, and Venor now finding that a win against Ragnar will open up this bot side turret.
Just wants it, just getting so much more. The Baron buff will burn down, but you've lost all of your outer towers. The only ones that stand for you now are the Nexus, but this is starting to become a difficult one to see how Go come back into it. They need to get Ragnar back. Honestly, he needs to go back straight back into the base. He needs to heal up.
I mean, the fact you've got no flash from the Renekton means he's not going to be fairly useful. No ultimate on Linkus. There's the engage, though.
They're looking for it. They're going to try and end this game right here. They get Cad down on top of this one, and they flash Camilius away. He keeps himself alive, and a kill is still good. They're going to have their base to reset, but oh, Takui almost gets caught out. He has to flash away. It's costing them so much, but for the moment, you can see them surviving.
This is where UOL should just back away. Defender advantage here with the fact you can come back off the fountain with a nice health buff. Means you can see UOL will at least forego the push for the moment, but 2 inhibitors, an inhibitor turret on top side down as well. Like, UOL are in a great little spot. A minute until Elder Dragon as well means that they'll still reset, have everyone back on the map, and be able to conga line these minions into the base and fall back for Elder if anything goes awry.
Yeah, this is slow. It's very slow, if I'm being totally honest, but it is, in fact, the correct way to play the game. You are in such a good position right now as the Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition. You do not need anything to go wrong. You need to make sure you dot your I's, you cross your T's, you check everything in the contract that says, yep, you are given this win as long as you do this, and they're doing just that.
Yeah, I mean, there's just little that you can do as Go. As you say, it's slow, but realistically, this is kind of a case of, well, let the minions do the work for you. I will say, UL at this stage, you kind of outscaled their opposition, right? Like, Ragnar just isn't able to keep up. Same when you look towards like Takui versus Mask, especially with this Rabadon's death cap, it's going to be completed, but there's little that Go have unless they can find some sort of pick, and as long as you're playing it slow and not giving that opportunity for Go to come back into it, you're going to be in a good spot. Funky may need to read from that book because he's playing a little bit aggressive for these pokes, but yeah, Go now in mid lane. They're just trying to see if they can fight for that mid control, but with mid lane tower still standing, it's just not looking good.
Look at that. Ragnar walks up to try and do something with this wave, and he just can't. They're getting deleted. These are your tanks right now, and you have no flashes because you needed them to defend your base, which means that everybody's just going to be falling one by one. There's just nothing you can do. It was slow, it was methodical, but at the end of the day, it was exactly what they needed. Triple kill for Funky, and this group is going to 2-2 across the board.
I'm going to look at Nightmare and initialize basically losing their minds later on, because this group is going to go the full distance. We have no idea what way this is going to end up, because UOL, they've just put us to 2-2 across the board.
We are 4 games for everybody in Group D, and we are no closer to knowing who is going to the quarterfinals. It is as equal can be. I will say, great to see Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition taking that win, because it means they are now having a 1-1 scoreline against Team Go. That is a very important thing going into the later stages, because look, I'm not going to pretend that I know all the different rules in a 4-way tie. That so rarely happens, but my God, it would be fun to see how it happens, or how it pans out.
Yeah, I mean, especially the fact that, again, you've got like Nasser, who were able to beat Movistar 2-0, which would kind of give them a little bit of leg room, but you've now got like Team Go, who have lost to UOL. The entire thing goes into pure bedlam. And I am all here for it. I am so hyped to see what way this one's going to pan out.
I'm all here for it because I'm not casting it. Anyway, I don't have to go into the depths of the world. But I mean, look, it was just a slow burner. That's just the way it is. And eventually, like you said, the Talia, the Zeri, they scaled up. Ragnar got nothing in terms of the top side. The Cassante counter, it's not really a counter. I think Cassante's just too safe. If you just play it weak side and you just accept that you're going to lose the tower early, you're never going to really come out on a bad situation.
Yeah, I think a lot of this, again, was just not being able to, one, play as heavily as he wanted to around that bottom side. And I think from UOL's perspective, they just did a good job of trying to shut down what was possible from the side of Team Go. And even here, like, he was on fire. Like, this was a guy that coming into this game, I was criticizing. I was like, look, they've been playing way too aggressive in the jungle, especially with, like, we saw the Volibear game where it just didn't work out. But coming back to, comfort, coming back to what we've seen work in the meta at the moment with the Sejuani, and he was on fire, doing such a good job of keeping everyone in check and just allowing that team to scale into the later portion of the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, that one steal, it felt like it was kind of a one and done, but it did feel like anything that could go wrong for Go went wrong. It did feel like, even though they weren't playing badly or they weren't throwing it away necessarily, it just felt like the luck of the draw, sometimes the luck of the RNG, the dragon, whatever way we'll put it, it just goes in the favor of one team. It can feel almost suffocating in certain instances, but look, when it got to this stage in the game, I still respect Go saying, look, we have to do something. We have to try a fight at the bare minimum and see if we can come back into it, because we're at a level disadvantage. Elder's on the map, but we can't really contest it. We got to do it before the Elder even gets taken. But look, it is what it is. And look, for Unicorns of Love Sexy Edition, fantastic for them. And look, everyone in this group is just wringing their hands there saying, cool, we got 2 more games. Let's figure out how we get on. Yeah,
I mean, as you say, I can respect the Team Go gave it everything at the end of it. It feels bad when you're a Nautilus who's support. People like to think the support Nautilus is tanky. Support Nautilus is tanky at the start of the game. But when you're like 5 levels, 6 levels down and you have one item versus the 5, 6 that are on the other side, it's like, it's not a good time. So for Camilius, he gave it his all to try and get that engage set up and going, but it just was not happening for them. Team Go, unfortunately, not able to pick up the win. But as you say, like, this Group D is going to be bedlam. It is going to be absolutely nuts, and I cannot wait to see it.
Let's have a look. You can see it right now. Let's just have a quick look at how Group D is looking right now, because it is 2-2 across the board. And I'm 99% sure we only have Go on top because G comes before all those other letters.
Had me saying my MNNOPs in my head there for a second as well. But,
quickly running through it. It's like, is he lying? I'm not sure.
But no, it's fascinating now to see exactly how this one's going to play out, because we're still waiting to see, like, right? So this is now, we got UOL still to play Nasser. That's going to be coming up. That's the last ones we have. Movistar versus Go, which is going to be incredibly crucial. UOL still to play Movistar as well. Like, there is still a huge amount that can pan out in this group. And again, it hasn't been like a straight, like, oh yeah, well, apart from Movistars who have lost to Nasser twice, it's been a lot more of that kind of rock, paper, scissors between the other 3 members. So I am really curious to see now what the story is. And even for teams like Nasser and UOL, Sexy Edition came into this and were like, hey, we're 1-2 at the start of the day. Suddenly coming into 2-2 across the board, they're going to be feeling way more confident coming into these upcoming games.
And the thing is as well, Unicorns of Love, they've got another game coming up. They are playing next against Nasser, which again was the team they beat in the first round robin. So to go 2-0 with the first 2 games and then have a really nice long break until your third one, see how the rest of the games are kind of panning out, that's a pretty damn good feeling to have. We'll have to see though if they're able to win it or not. Nasser might be feeling the exact same thing, but we're going to send it to a quick break before we can jump into picks and bans of game number 3.